Attorney Michael Whitty.
Okay, thanks, Chantel, and thanks Tony.
Where maybe they have heads overseas or relatives that want to be part of the business but aren't part of it because they're not part of the domestic area where the business is located. I know it's a complicated issue, but how does that work and how does that fit in with the family office for business?
Well, I've worked with clients like that, and what we typically do in that case is because the overseas child is both not going to be participating in the operating company and is overseas, we focus on the kinds of transfers to them that are going to be both good for governance for the family as a whole and also tax efficient. So in a case like that, we might provide a life insurance policy that will go to those children who are overseas. So, it's clean, it's easy, it's tax efficient, and you know that they're going to get it, and it's not going to interfere with the operation of the company.
You do work with a lot of people that you work with financial advisors as well as with other attorneys in putting together these issues with businesses.
Absolutely. I am a big believer in a multidisciplinary approach. I've given a separate presentation on making sure that the estate plan and the financial plan are properly coordinated. I'm a CFP, but I don't actually use that to do financial planning. I got that mainly so I could work better with my clients' other advisors, understanding their roles and their products and services. And that has paid off pretty well.
I see a tie together here in a lot of different areas. What I see is a tie together with reverse mortgages. Have you worked with a reverse mortgage person like Kevin?
Actually, I have. It's been a number of years back, but Kevin's presentation has made me alert to the advances in that field and how, especially in the high net worth space, it can be very valuable. I've long been a big advocate of my high net worth clients having an extra access to some kind of cash funding, even if it's just a standby line of credit, so that they don't have to sell an asset when an unexpected cash need arises.
I'm going to tie you all the way back to Jason Ma too, because when you're talking about businesses and family business owners, how do you work with getting that next generation together? But that's where Jason Ma fits in.
Well, that's a big issue, and you have to take some time, talk with in this case, typically children in the next generation, could be grandchildren, sometimes some nieces and nephews. You have to talk with them, get them all together. Also need to talk with them separately sometimes so that they can feel free to express themselves, and then come up with a governance plan that addresses the concerns of both the family and the business, and make sure that transition and succession are handled smoothly, and you try to minimize conflict as much as possible. I've been a fan of the TV series Succession, and that's a great example of what not to do.
Right. You're about to ask a question, Tony. Go ahead.
Actually, just a point that I'd like to raise, Mike. You talk about business. There's business succession. There's estate planning, and those can be a little bit different in terms of. And I run into this all the time because this is part of what I do. But valuation issues for estate planning, where the purpose or the goal, I guess, of the exercise is to minimize estate taxes. Now, that is not necessarily the value that you would want to go to when you talk to maybe somebody who's looking to buy the business.
That's absolutely right. And we encourage our clients to get an appraisal that's aimed for gift and estate tax purposes pretty early in the process if they're thinking about selling their company. And then we do some income tax and estate tax planning transactions, taking advantage of that lower value before things are sort of cleaned up to get the company ready for sale. And it's already got a lower value than it would on the sale date. And then we do these kinds of gift and estate tax planning transactions. The tax savings can usually pay for all of the legal fees on the entire transaction for selling the company, and probably several times over. So just to put it in that perspective, it really opens up a lot of eyes and encourages our clients to go ahead and do that planning.
So essentially, I'm sorry, Chantel, essentially, you can have sort of two different views of the value of the company, depending on what the purpose is. And I'm using this as a question to you because I run into this a lot of times with my clients, my own clients who get confused about that. How can it be worth something in this sense, and then, when I sell it, something more?
Well, part of it has to do with valuation adjustments, including discounts for lack of marketability and lack of control. And those are real. They reflect real world conditions. And so when you're transferring just a part of a business rather than the entire thing together, those discounts are very much applicable. But then if you are looking at maybe selling the entire company, then you're looking at the enterprise value, which doesn't have those discounts.
Absolutely.
Another point too. I think that what you're talking about too, planning is such an important factor and it should be ongoing because a lot of the things you read about